Unconscious bias in work environment. Welcome everyone to today's training on unconscious bias in the workplace. Unconscious bias refers to the automatic and unconscious attitudes and beliefs we hold about certain groups of people, often based on characteristics like race, gender, age, religion, or sexual orientation. These biases can impact the way we interact with colleagues, make decisions, and ultimately affect the overall work environment. In this training, we will explore what unconscious bias is, how it can manifest in the workplace, and what steps we can take to mitigate its effects. Understanding unconscious bias. Let's start by understanding what unconscious bias is and how it can impact our work environment. Unconscious bias refers to the automatic and unconscious attitudes and beliefs we hold about certain groups of people, often based on characteristics like race, gender, age, religion, or sexual orientation. These biases are formed by our experiences, upbringing, cultural influences, and other factors that shape our perception of the world around us. They can be difficult to recognize because they are often deeply ingrained and operate at a subconscious level. How unconscious bias manifests in the workplace. Now let's explore how unconscious bias can manifest in the workplace. Unconscious bias can impact how we perceive and evaluate job candidates, how we assign tasks and responsibilities, and how we communicate with colleagues. It can also affect our decision-making processes, leading us to favor certain employees over others, or to overlook the contributions of certain groups. Some common examples of unconscious bias in the workplace include confirmation bias, the tendency to favor information that confirms our existing beliefs, and to discount or ignore evidence that contradicts them. Halo effect, the tendency to form a positive impression of someone based on one or two positive traits or accomplishments, and to overlook their flaws or limitations. Stereotyping, the tendency to make assumptions about people based on their group membership, rather than their individual qualities or characteristics. Attribution bias, the tendency to attribute positive outcomes to our own abilities and efforts, and negative outcomes to external factors beyond our control. The consequences of unconscious bias in the workplace. Now let's discuss the consequences of unconscious bias in the workplace. The consequences of unconscious bias can be significant, and they can lead to reduced diversity and inclusivity. When biases influence our decision-making processes, we may be less likely to hire, promote, or value individuals from certain groups, leading to a less diverse and inclusive work environment. Lower job satisfaction and engagement. When employees feel that their contributions are not valued or recognized, they may become disengaged and less motivated to perform at their best. Decreased productivity. When employees are not given equal opportunities to contribute, or when their ideas and perspectives are not taken seriously, it can lead to missed opportunities for innovation and growth. Legal and reputational risks. When biases result in discriminatory or unfair practices, it can expose companies to legal and reputational risks, damaging their brand and bottom line. Mitigating the effects of unconscious bias. Now let's discuss some steps we can take to mitigate the effects of unconscious bias in the workplace. Some strategies to consider include: educate ourselves and others about the nature and impact of unconscious bias, and how to recognize and mitigate it. Implement diversity and inclusion initiatives, such as creating a diverse hiring panel, establishing diversity goals and metrics, and providing unconscious bias training to employees. Foster an inclusive work culture that values diverse perspectives and promotes open communication and collaboration. 4. Encourage feedback and accountability, so that employees can provide feedback to one another and hold themselves accountable for addressing unconscious biases in the workplace. Conclusion. Thank you all for attending this training on unconscious bias in the workplace.